Okay, so uh, hello everyone, and nice to see you again. So today is the last time we are going to deliver the content of this course, and next week we are going to have a demo day. So let me show everybody our schedule. So this is our schedule. So today is December the 26th. So we are right here. And unfortunately, we have some delay to the content, and we are still going to show some interesting things today. But actually, maybe these topics will be delivered some days later. And I'm going to record some of the video and upload to my YouTube. So maybe in the winter vacation, if you still have time, you can listen or watch to the video on my YouTube channel. And for the demo day, so do you have any question or any problem that have to be solved? So if you have any problem, you can ask me at any time. So typically, I'm in school in starting from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So most of the time, you'll find me either in the fourth floor here or in the third floor just below, and my office is the R321, just in the third floor of this building. So you're always welcome to ask me any kind of question about the project. Okay, all right. Mhm. So since this is the last day, I want to introduce the database to everybody because I know maybe you didn't use any kind of database during the past 3 years. So I think this is a very nice chance for me to share some knowledge to everybody. And I'm going to upload my PowerPoint slides. So wait a moment, please. Okay, I just upload a new PowerPoint slide to our iStudy system, so you can find the PowerPoint slide over here. It is chapter database. Mm. Okay, so we are going to introduce two different database today with one uh, data sheet. So data sheet could be pretend to be a database, and you can use the data sheet like Excel or CSV as a minimum configured database. So in total, we are going to introduce three different methods to implement a database for your game. Of course, you can use this in your app. If someday later you're going to build some Android app or web app, this kind of database could be utilized too. So it's very versatile and it must be a help. It could be a help for your future projects. Okay. So the first database we're going to introduce is the well-known MongoDB. Okay. So we're going to make the whole systems like this. This is the UML of our architecture. So the first thing for us is to introduce the iDatabase interface for all of the three solutions. The iDatabase interface is responsible for the read and write and the update and the delete. So for any kind of a database, our mission is to make the CRUD. CRUD is a professional term, and the C means create, R means read, U means update, and D means delete. Any database, if you get any kind of database, the first thing to do is to implement CRUD. Okay, so later you'll see that I will provide some example for everybody to implement the CRUD functions for MongoDB, for SQLite, and for Excel. So that's the mission for this lesson. Since we have to implement CRUD, so the best case is that we implement an interface to do that. So the purpose of this interface, I mean, the iDatabase interface has only one mission to do, that is to implement the CRUD. Okay, that is it. And we're going to implement three children from this interface. And one of them is MongoDB. We call this class DB Mongo in order not to conflict with the name of the solution. And the second one is DB SQLite. And the third one is DB Excel. Okay, so next. Okay, so now the code we are watching right now, this class is our interface for CRUD. So starting from line 7, we declare a C create over here, and then the R for read, and then the U for update, and then the D for delete. So the create should return whether success or not, the creation process is finished. So if the creation is success, it will return a true as a boolean. So on the other hand, if the creation is failed, then it will return false as the bool for return value. So if we inspect the four different signature of the CRUD, we'll see that for create, we have to provide the full data. For the other process, for the read process, we don't need to pass any data, but we have to provide a filter for the read process. So for example, if I want to read for all the members, I have a member database, and part of the members are male and the rest are female. And I just want to read the data from all of the male members. What should I do? So I may do it like this. I may invoke a read action and provide a filter to the database. And in the filter, I just address that my interest is to know uh, whose sex equals to male and filter out all these members and reply to me. So this is the purpose of read method. So once I provide correct filter, the read will arrange and send me back the iData in an array type. So this is the return and all the found items in the database. So this is read. The same similar things happen to update. For the update method, we also have to provide a filter over here. And once the update filter out all the candidates, all the items to be updated, I have to provide what kind of information I'm going to update into it. So we see a second argument over here. The update is also a dictionary. So it also has several key value pairs as the information to be updated into it, the database. So the last one is the delete method. We just need to provide a filter to the delete, and the delete will filter out all the candidates, all the items to be deleted in first, and then do the delete process for us. We see that the delete is meant to provide a return value of a data array. Actually, not all of the solution is capable of doing this. MongoDB can do the return type perfectly, but later our second solution, the SQLite, can do can read the iData as a return value for us, but that is not a problem at all. We're going to solve the problem later. And the final method is get new index over here. What is get new index? For any of the database, we are going to keep an integer as an index for query and for sorting. So if you select the course from computer science, there is a course called data structure. So in the data structure courses, you'll learn a lot of sorting algorithm in the course. So what is sorting algorithm for? Once we have a very few database, the first thing for us is to sort each of the item in an ordered manner. Why do we need to do that? That is because once we have a sorted database, we have a faster time for query. So, for example, you have 100 different items in this database, and they have different IDs. The ID is ranging from 0 to 1000. Probably you have an ID of 7, CT8, 900, or 1234. So you have some already assigned ID for each of the items. And the best policy for us to query an item 500, uh, if we want to know whether there is any item having an ID of 500, we want to query the item and get the item. This is our task right now. But we are not sure whether there is any item in the database have an ID of 500. So the first thing is to try to read it out. So how to do that? Okay, one possible policy is to sort the database in the first step. Once you have arranged in order the database, and then you can search from the half of the position. If we search, now if we have 10 different items, we can search for the fifth items. So if the ID of the fifth item is greater than 500, so that means 500 having an ID is less than 5. So then we can search the ID, search the orders of second, which is pretty close to half of the subsegments. So we can compare the ID with 500 again. So this is called a binary search. If you are interested, you can look for the binary search in Google, or once you select the database course, data structure course, you will learn binary search. But today we're not going to talk about binary search too much. That will be excluded from the course today. But we know that the index is very interesting and important for us. We can, by utilizing the index, to implement so many algorithms of sorting and query. So the get a new index here is to know whether if we are going to insert some new items into the database and what ID should it be. So by calling the get new index, we can get a brand new index, and then we can assign the index for the new item. So this is the purpose of get new item. All right, next. So now let's look at the data scheme. This is a very vanilla flavored data. Let's take a look at each of the field. We have 4 fields in total. The first field is UID, which means unique ID. Unique ID. So we assign UID as an integer. That means the maximum of UID is how many? 65,000 and 535. So this is the maximum number of UID. So if you have a member number larger than 60,000, that means you have a successful business and you have so many members, right? Then you can't declare UID just as an integer. You have to declare as a long integer. Actually, this should be an unsigned integer, UINT. Otherwise, it will ranging from the negative number to positive number. Uh, but we didn't meant to use the negative integer as an ID, so this is a waste. So if we do it like this, then the negative ID will be wasted. So the second field will be a string type of a name in string type. Okay, the third field is the age of the user, and the fourth age is whether the user is married or not. Maybe the married field could be represented by a typically simply a bool. So we declare married as a bool. So this is our schema. We call this data schema. The schema means how many fields you need and what are the types of these fields. So this is called schema for database. All right. So we just decide and regulate our database, which should inherit from the iData abstract class. This is an enforcement. The reason why we're going to do that is because we don't want everybody to implement data schema for this database. Only for the classes inherit from iData can be a schema of this database. So next time, if we want to introduce some common features into the data, for example, if we want to introduce a mandatory that any kind of data schema should implement a price field, price, and then we simply just introduce some price field into this class, and this will solve the problem. So we just inherit user, we just let user data to inherit from iData. All right, so let's start it. The first thing is to install MongoDB. And throughout the course today, we're going to use MongoDB of version 60.0. And the reason why we're rolling back to use an old version is because this is simpler. And we just need 5 to 6 plugins, 5 to 6 DLLs in Unity to make it run. Otherwise, you will need bunch of DLLs to be imported to your Unity, and then you can program your C# to call MongoDB. So version 6 is great. It already sufficient to us to program the database. And if you plan to install MongoDB to a bigger disk, you can change the data directory and load directory, but typically you are not always need to do so. The default path should be sufficient for everybody. All right, so that's let's move on to the next PowerPoint slide. After you install MongoDB, and we are going to make something new from the database. But before that, we have to introduce some professional terms. The three terms listed on this page, they are database, collection, and the document. And let me introduce what are these terms. The first term, database. For each time we create an app, we also create a database for it. So one app for one database. And just like if you make one game, then we are going to create one database for this game. So this is a principle for our course. And if we look at the illustration over here, this means we are going to create an e-commerce website, like Yahoo, or like the famous shopping website in Taiwan is Momo. Oh, sorry. So if we are going to create if we are going to create an e-commerce website, then we are going to also create a database for it. And then in the database, we have several collections like this. We know that for e-commerce website, probably we are going to have a members icon. And whenever a user is clicking the member icon, it always shows the information of certain members. So we have to build a collection of users in order to store so many user informations from so many users. So let's take a look at this. For example, we have two users right now. The first user, his ID is 123, and his name is John Doe, and his email is john@example.com. Okay, this is John's information. Then we have another member who has the ID of 456, and her name is Jen Smith, and her email is jen@example.com. So maybe some days later, I'm going to have a third member, fourth member, and more members. But I just put all of these member information into the user collection. So this is collections. And then I'm going to plan a brand new feature for the e-commerce website. I'm going to list my products on the website. So obviously, I have to create another collection for the database. So this new collection is called products. For the products collection, it has different data schema. So let's take a look at this item. So one item of my e-commerce website is laptop, and the laptop has a price whenever a user doesn't have a price. So the data schema for user and for the item, for the product, these two schemas are different, obviously. And for product, I definitely need a price field. So I list two products into the collection. One is laptop and the other is smartphone. Okay, and both of the laptop and smartphone, they have price fields in the collections. Okay, so somebody would be noticing about that. Hey, Mr. Fu, this is some format like JSON, which you have taught in the first class, right? Yes. In the first lesson of uh, in the first lesson of this course, we introduced some class object and JSON object before, and this is the send to the JSON format, key value pair. But MongoDB called this type BSON. What is BSON? Actually, BSON is just a binary format of JSON. So you can take it as the brother of JSON. They almost the same. The only difference is that a BSON object is saved in binary format, and this saves a lot of spaces. Okay, great. So uh, each item is called a document in MongoDB. So now we know the meaning of these three words. Now we know what is database. One app, one database. or one game, one database. And now we also know the collection. Okay, I have one game, but in that game, I have different needs for data schema. So for each type of data schema, I create a collection for it. And now we also know the idea of document. A document is equal to an item in your collection. My collection can contain several documents. That means my collection can contain several items. Document is item. So that's it. That's the three most to know terms in the database. So right now, let's have some experiment to the MongoDB. And after we install MongoDB, we have a MongoDB Compass, which is the editor for this database. So we can launch the MongoDB Compass over here. All right. So your MongoDB could be executed on your laptop, but it's not accessible from outside of your laptop. If you want to expose your MongoDB server to the internet, you have to write a Node.js server to connect with your MongoDB. So right now it's safe. You are not being attacked by the hackers. Be so let's create an action connection over here. Sorry, let's create a connection over here. All right. So once you launch the Compass, you will see that on your left-hand side, you have a connection list. Just click the plus button to add one new connection to your Mongo server. So right now, we are going to launch our Mongo server on my laptop. And the port is 27017. So this is by default the default port. Please do remember to change the port once you publish your service to outside of the internet world. Otherwise, the hacker will hack this port. They all know the default port is this number. So they were trying to attack all the MongoDB server on the internet with the default port settings. If you didn't change the default port, you are vulnerable to the internet world. All right, so temporarily we accept the default setting over here. And about the name, I'm going to call this my super app, my super application, my super app. And for the color, we're not going to make any change. We just click the save and connect. Click. Hooray! So now we have a my super app database. So wait a minute. So my super app. Oh, sorry, the name should be my local MongoDB. Sorry, let's do it again. Let's delete the connection. Sorry, my local MongoDB. Okay, then we have a database connection. We can then add a database. Just click the plus button over here to create a database. And this time we're going to call the database my super app. And we're going to create a collection for the empty database at the same time. So the name of the collection could be users. Okay, that's it. Let's click the create database over here. All right, now we have a database in the collection. So now we are going to add one item, namely a document into the database. And by simply click the add data over here, we can introduce a new item into the database. Click it and just leave the insert document over here. So as we can see that the new document will be pretty like a JSON format, and this is what the MongoDB calls BSON. And right now it has a default ID field, which is having an OID of this long value. Actually, this is a 12 hex digits special ID. And for every time you generate a new document, the MongoDB will increase one for the new OID for you automatically. So we are not bothering with the ID setting. We just put a comma over here and try to declare a name for this new record. And the name should be John. Okay. And after the key value pair is written onto the list, we just put another comma and introduce a new line, which should contain a new key value pair. And I'm going to, let me see, age and married. Okay, John having an age of 40 and John is married. Okay, for the last line of the key value pairs, you don't need to put any more comma. For the last line, the last line could omit the comma just after it. So this is sufficient for me. And what's insert not permitted while document contains errors? Where do I have an arrow? Do I need to put a double prime? Oh yeah, I have to put a double prime to embrace the keyname. Okay, insert it. Ta-da! Now I have a new record. I have a new document over here. So if we want to add more data into the database, we just need to repeat the process again and again. So this time I introduce a record for Bob, and his age is 28, and the marriage is false. Bob is not married yet. Sorry. Let me turn off the alarm. Okay, so if we want to modify any of the item, we can click the pencil icon listed over here, which is shown as the edit document. So once we click the edit document, we can introduce more field, or if you don't like the inspection format, you can select three different format from it. Maybe you like the table format better, so you can edit the database as a table. So if we want to introduce more field, we can click the sorry, and we are going to introduce the new item over here. So how to turn off the alarm? Okay. All right, let's take a new field over here. The genre. How to spell gender, 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 gender. Okay, John is male. Okay, then for each of the field, we are going to introduce each of the document. We're going to introduce the gender. Married, the marriage. Who has a, this should be married. Married. So, sorry. Okay, we sure can have more document, but we are going to stop it here, and we are going to have a search from the box over here by using the search box over here. So that search whose age is equal to 40, and select find, and you'll see that only the items having age of 40 will be listed over here. And we can restart the search, and to do that again, this time we search who is not married. So in the married field, we're going to filter out who's married equal to false. And then we can see Bob doesn't married yet. Of course, we can have multiple filter fields in order to have a finer resolution for our filter process. For example, if we want to search for who have a true for married, but the gender also have to be male. So this will filter out John. Okay, let's take a break. So let's take a break about 10 minutes. Right now we are over here. We are talking about the page 13 on this database PowerPoint slides. Okay. But I wonder all these mounts are not able to probably need some dongle. Oh, this is good. Okay, welcome back. So now we have a MongoDB installed on our laptop. We'll be able to query the database and we'll be able to insert new document into the database. So actually, we even can delete any document we don't want over here. We can click the trash icon over here in order to delete any of the document, but it will verify whether or not we are really want to delete the document. Okay, yes, delete. So this is all the operation we can have through the MongoDB Compass. But actually, we can use C Sharp to do all the operation we just did before. So how to do that? It is very simple. All we need are these 5 different DLLs, which we can download from here. Actually, somebody collected for us. Otherwise, we have to install about 5 different packages from NuGet. NuGet is a package manager in Visual Studio. Okay, so let me restart my Unity project. So this is provided by the user Julian 23517, and he just put so many DLLs into this GitHub project, and all we need are the 5 DLLs in this project. We don't need a C# file. All we need are the DLL files. So we can download the project by simply click the green button over here and select download zip to download everything in a zip. So once you have the zip, you can dive into the folder and you'll be able to find these 5 little guys over here. Okay. So we need to copy these 5 DLLs into our Unity project. And in the early version of Unity, the early version asks the user to make this folder, the plugins folder, to put all your DLLs into it. But for the newer version of Unity, are not required. But we are still going to follow the old rules, okay? Just to let everybody know that this is the rule for all version of Unity. For all version Unity, all the DLLs should be put under the plugins folder. This is required. But for the newer version, this required is no longer valid. You don't need to do so. Okay, let's add a plugins folder in our asset folder. And by the way, we introduced a new subfolder to group things together, make it beautiful. And we call this subfolder a MongoDB. And by copy these 5 little guys into it, actually we have to copy from Explorer to Explorer. All right, so if you have a paid GPT, you may have a very special experience below. You can let GPT do program for you, and the GPT will do 99% correct for you. What you have to do is to copy my 3 pages of slides, my page 3 to page 5. You just need to copy these 3 pages to GPT and it will do the things for you. And I can have a demonstrate for everybody because I have a I have a paid account. Okay, now for the paid user of GPT, you'll be able to use GPT 4.0. Of course, you can use O1, but O1 is not valid to upload images. So let me roll back to the GPT 4.0 and I'll be able to paste some images to it. So I just use the Windows cropping tool to copy my class diagram and Control V to paste in GPT, and then go back to copy the interface, and I just copy the whole page. GPT should be able to have a resolution, have enough resolution to see all the characters in my code. And the last one is the data schema. I always paste the data schema to ChatGPT. And let me negotiate with ChatGPT. Actually, I put the prompt engineering over here. Okay, this is my prompt. Create a MongoDB class that implements the iDatabase interface and serves as a data adapter for MongoDB. Use the MongoDB.driver package to implement the CRUD operations. The user data class will serve as the data structure for storing user information and ensure the implementation supports creating, reading, updating, and deleting records in MongoDB. Okay, great. This is what we just talked about in last hour. Let me just paste into it. What I need is the DB Mongo class. I need ChatGPT to design a DB Mongo class, which by inherit the iDatabase interface to implement the CRUD operations. Alright, so GPT do that. So right now he's so so quickly. Alright, now it just finished the coding so fast. And just like what I want the class to be named as DB and the DB inherits iDatabase. And for the rest part, since I provide the signature, it should be correct. But sometimes GPT still have some chances to make some faults, like the override things. It just omitted the override thing, and I have to put it back. Okay, let me show you how to do that. The first thing is to copy all the codes and back to Unity. And let me create a new class, dbmongo. Okay, so just like you can see, I didn't implement the iDatabase. Sorry, I just uh, iDatabase. Of course, I can let GPT to catch the code for me, and give me the code of iDatabase. We can use GPT as an OCR software. OCR means the computer vision, and it can distinguish characters from the documents or from the image. Yeah, most of the declaration is correct, but actually this should be an abstract class. And I'm going to declare a public abstract iData. And this should be a public over abstract public abstract. Oh, I have to declare a user data, right? So just so I have a public integer UID, and I have a public name, public age, sorry, integer of age, and a bool of married. Okay, then I have to override all of the method. Override, because this is an abstract method. All these are abstract method. So I have to override all of them. It even introduced some new method for me. What is this method? Builder. Okay, some students just reported that if you are using the free version of GPT, probably you just allowed to send 3 images to the ChatGPT, and that will not be able to finish the rest part of the code. So it's okay because you can copy all the codes which shown on this PowerPoint slide into the project, and you still be able to run the code in your project. But but there is chances that GPT doesn't register your class to the class map of MongoDB. That is because MongoDB is a NoSQL. What is a NoSQL? Actually, MongoDB just saves everything in the BSON format. So it doesn't guarantee that all of the documents having the same data schema. Maybe some of the documents have an extra field introduced to it, but this is allowed because MongoDB is a NoSQL. NoSQL is so free. You don't have to obey the data schema for each of the documents. Some documents can have their own fields. This causes some problems when you want to deserialize a document back to the class object, a very severe problem. So by MongoDB design, it will save a class information as a field of each document. And if you don't want to do that, you want to deserialize by yourself, and you guarantee that all of the string are following some schema strictly, then you can do it like this. You can register your class map and set that ignore the external elements, do not store the class information into your document. And it can save some more rooms for the database. So just copy these lines into your code, just right after the constructor of dbmongo. So let me show where it should be introduced. So this is the dbmongo, this is the constructor. Just right below the constructor, we have to introduce this line of code. Sorry, at the bottom end of the constructor here. Before you end the constructor, we have to use bson class map, register class map. Okay, let's call bson class map and register class map. I want to register my user data class like this. And we're going to provide a lambda function whenever we register our class to the MongoDB. First, we want to auto map this class when we are trying to deserialize, and then set discriminator is required. All right, just copy these 4 lines into your code. About the collection, all right, we just have a collection, so we don't need to put the collection. CM auto map. CM, what's static discriminator? Is required false. Set in no internal elements. Set is root class. All right, so since GPT generate the whole DB Mongo class for me, so I don't need to bother with this class. What I need is just to implement the test client for these settings. So let me introduce the test client, and later you'll have about 10 to 20 minutes to implement all the code. So in our test client, we just create a MongoDB and provide the port and the address for the DB server, and we just provide our database name and the collection name to the codes. Actually, I didn't assign the signature of my constructor. Let me see. Okay, great. It does, for me, it just generate the same signature. If you have time, you can address the signature of the constructor clearly in order to let GPT to generate the corresponding code. Now we have to pass the connection string and the database name and the collection name to the constructor. Okay, great. So this matches my design on PowerPoint. So we have create one MongoDB here, and we assign the MongoDB to the DB variable. Next, if the user press 1, then we are going to create a new item to the DB. So just like we see here, we call the create of DB, we implement CRUD. So of course we have a C, which means create. So we also generate a new user data in the argument field. So you can see that by calling db get new index, we are going to get a new index when we just assign the integer to UID, and we just give a name to the user, and by using a random, we can generate a random name for the user. And about the age, we just could try to get a random between 12 to 60. And for the married bool, so we just use a ternary operator over here. The ternary condition is to get a random number, and whether the random number is greater than 50, we are going to return a true for the whole for the whole expression. Otherwise, we are going to return a false. So we just create one item and insert the item into the dataset. Oh no, we didn't insert the item into dataset. We just show the item on the screen. Oh yeah, we create the item to dataset because we co-create. And if the user press 2, we're going to read some items from the dataset. We're looking for the married field and looking for which item having a married field of true. So this will get the corresponding items, and let's put it into the results. And then we can analyze whether the result having any items and to print out all the items in the results. And next we are doing the same similar things to test the CRUD all these four methods. Okay, so now we can have a test. By simply press 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 4 and 2 in order, you will be able to read and write and read and update and read and delete and read. So if everything goes smoothly, you will be able to see the console, and you will find the console just work like we expected before. If you have any update to the server, and you want to look at the data in Mongo Compass, then you have to press the recycle or refresh button. Sorry, this is refresh button, not recycle button. And we have to push the refresh button in order to refresh all the data. Okay, that's it. Maybe this is the first exercise for DB, but this will be very beneficial for a programmer to learn. So we have about 12 minutes left in this hour. So let's go through the PowerPoint slide to page number 19. Okay. OK。
嗯，一家
哦，哪一家？
这个是做那个别彩白块，
别彩白怪，那不是大陆的吗？
我没想过他是台湾，他在台湾，而且他好像没有大陆，
在哪边？
在永和那边，
还
还算记得。
搜一下好了。
哦，
等一下，先把这个先关掉。Okay, welcome back. So, what we have done in the last hour is using the MongoDB, and we can use the CRUD function to operate the database. So that means whenever you are making a Unity game, then you can save your user file, user status, or the game status into the database, or you can make a leaderboard. Once you have so many different players all around the world, and you can upload their best records in, to your server, to your MongoDB server, and by sorting the top 10 or the top 50, you'll be able to create a leaderboard, and there will be a gamification. So, do you have any idea about what is gamification? No, not this one. All right, let me show in English wiki. Okay, gamification actually means you apply some game module onto some non-game contents. So the applied game module could be taken as gamification. So sometimes we call this kind of game a serious game. This is a broad subject in academic. If you like to make games in school and you want to go for maybe a master degree, and then gamification will be a very nice topic for you to do a deeper research. And also, the gamification will be utilized in marketing. Sometimes we create a marketing campaign, and maybe you can create some points, badges, and leaderboards in order to let your user, your customer, to gain some points by some maybe consumer, buy some consumer products, and then you can create a leaderboard like this. That is sort of gamification applied in the real field. But most of the case, when we talk about gamification in school, most of the time we're making some education program or some sport program that could be educational support in the schools, including high school and the college. So serious again, sometimes some master student from our college, and they decided their thesis topic to be gamification. This is a popular topic. All right. In order to make some game module for gamification, database sometimes is very critical. So now you know how to make a MongoDB. Next time you may be able to use some other database like SQLite. So next, the second topic we're going to talk today is the SQLite database. SQLite is different to MongoDB. SQLite could be installed in an Android app. Whenever you install some Android app is having a DB file with it. So the DB file could be opened and added by the SQLite library. So that's what we are going to do later. And the first thing is to install a SQLite browser. And by simply connect to the SQLite browser.org, we'll be able to download the browser. This is the SQLite browser. Okay, so my computer having a Windows system, and I can download the signing Windows executables. Okay, and let's install the DB browser for SQLite. MongoDB is not able to install the Android or iOS phone. So whenever you want to use MongoDB on your mobile app, and you have to create a server running your MongoDB, maybe you can rent a server on internet, or you can use your laptop to run the server and open your IP address to the internet. But if you open your IP to internet, that is most secure this thing you have to be noticed about, because there are so many hackers on internet. So when you expose your IP to internet, sooner or later hacker will find you and they will try to hack your server. No kidding. Yeah, yeah. I have one server that is cracked by a hacker and I lost all of my data. So please be aware if you really want to launch a server by your own. Otherwise, I will suppose everybody can considering to rent a server like Amazon, like in Taiwan we have a server zoo, something some similar service provided by the server, and they provide some fundamental information security for the customer. So that would be a nice choice. But for the SQLite, you don't need to rent an Amazon server because SQLite just save all the database into one file. Then by simply operate on that file, you'll be able to do the CRUD to all your data. So that's doing some database operation by this software. The first thing, okay, I suppose everybody had installed the DB browser for SQLite. So that's let's open the DB browser for SQLite. Okay, this is the UI interface. Obviously, the first thing is to create a database. So let's do it. So click New Database. This button should be light at your top left corner, the New Database over here. And we just going to create a new database called the MySuperApp. And then we place the database file into our asset folder. Okay, great. Click the My New Database, give it a name, MySuperApp. And for the path, I'm going to point into my Unity project. And I'm going to give you a file extension as DB. Hooray, now I have my database. Okay, now we are going to plan for the data schema. Our data schema will be the same to last exercise. The first field is the ID, which should be an integer. Okay, I think the name should be UID. Please insert a U just before the I. Let's call this field UID, the unique ID. And the second field is the name, which should be a text. A text in SQLite means a string. The third field is age, which should be an integer. And the fourth field is married. There isn't Boolean type of data in SQLite, so we have to use the integer to represent for the married field. And among everything, please be noted that we have to set the ID as the PK, the primary key, the primary key. So what is the primary key? For all kinds of database, it has a preferred indexing key, which means when it runs some sorting algorithm, it will use the preferred key as the sorting index. So in our system, we prefer the ID field to be the primary key for sorting. So let's click the PK option for ID. And another option that we need you to take care of is the AI. This is auto increment, not artificial intelligence. This is the auto increment. So this means whenever you assign a new ID to any of the data, then the system will increase one for next data. Okay, so just by clicking these two options, and we're going to finish the data schema. And then we are going to introduce some new data into this table. So let's create a table with 4 people in it. The first person is John. John is having an age of 40 and John is married. The second is Bob. Bob is 34 and Bob is not married. And the third one is Lisa. Lisa is 24 and Lisa, she isn't married. And the fourth is May. May is 28 and May is married. So by simply doing the data in insert, you can add a table like this. Okay, let's do it. So the table is user. Okay, so now we have our table and we are going to insert some new data into it. Okay, so let's switch to the browse data tab. Browse data, browse data here. And right now we have no user and so we can introduce a new data over here. So this is the one, but this is the button we can insert one record into the current table, this one. So by simply click this icon, we can insert a new table and the sequence name. No. First of all, I should select the user table. Oh, in the beginning, I was by default select the SQLite sequence. That is not the one I need because it's counting for the next new index. So let's switch to the table of user and select the add the item button. Then we will be able to introduce a new items. So the UID and the name. No. So the name is Bob. The age is 20. The married is true. Actually, the married field could be taken as a one for true, zero for false. But we just introduce more data into the table. Okay, so let me introduce how to use SQLite in Unity 3D. So we just have a DB file, and we just put the DB file into our Unity project. So you just save the file. Do you remember that save database? And we just save the database and give it the extension name as DB, or you can give the extension name as SQLite 3 DB3, and they will work just as done before. And we need some DLL to operate on these DB file data files. So we have to download some precompiled binary from the link over here. The first link after test by myself, I found that the SQLite 3.dll is not required. So you can just skip this one. This SQLite 3 is not mandatory. This is not required. All we required is the system data SQLite.dll and the SQLite.interrupt.dll. You can download from the link over here. And please must be noted that this is what we need because there are too many things in the download link. Too many available things. And they looks like the same, but actually having some little deviations between each of them. So the one we need is the precompiled binary for .NET Framework 4.6. .NET Framework for 4.6, or you can search for 4.6, and you'll be able to find. Oh, there are two versions for .NET Framework 4.6. So what is .NET Framework? Well, .NET Framework is the solution of C# programming provided by Microsoft, and it has a brother whose name is .NET Core. .NET Core is a little bit simpler than .NET Framework, so .NET Framework has more things in it comparing to .NET Core. For the compatibility, we have to use the .NET Framework 4.6 to export our Unity project. So before that, let's download a corresponding .NET Framework version of the SQLite DLL. So this one is the one we need, and it supports two different versions. What we need is the this one. We don't need the bundle one because the bundle one doesn't separate the interop.dll file separately. We definitely need the interop for Unity. So we can't download the bundle version. We have to download this version, the bigger one. The bigger one. The size should be 4.04 in megabytes. Okay, after you download the DLL for SQLite 3, we have to go back to Unity project setting and find the player settings. There is an option called the API compatibility level. We have to select the .NET Framework option for this selection. So what does it mean? What does it mean the API compatibility level is equal to .NET Framework? Okay, so before you open the before you upload the app in order to let your user to download, for example, the Android, the Google Play will try to test your APK file, and they will ask you what is the maximum supported level in this app. So if you select the maximum supported framework to be .NET Framework, when you compile all the project, you will select corresponding toolchain for .NET Framework toolchain to compile your project. And then your project will be run on the supporting platform, which supports .NET Framework. Not all of the Windows systems support .NET Framework. They have to install some .NET Framework binaries. But if they're missing this kind of binary, they can simply by downloads or update the system from internet. That is not a huge bug to solve. But for Unity, we have to correctly set the export API compatibility level to .NET Framework. In order, when the Unity engine is compiling, it can select the corresponding version to compile. Otherwise, something will be very weird. So please do remember to switch the API compatibility level to .NET Framework. Otherwise, the SQLite DLL won't work. Okay, so this is the design of my test client. Actually, I should write the file, write the class uh, organization, write the class map just like before. But in this exercise, I just shorten everything in order to let everybody to see clearly how to use such a simple database solution. So we directly write a test client, and in the test client, we implement the database CRUD. So just like we can see over here, this is test client 2. And we just copy the database name into a database name variable. And we just copy the table name into a variable. And besides that, we declare a private string which name is dbpath. So what is dbpath? Okay, now our db is a db file, having an extension of db file. All our data are stored in this db file. So we have to load back the db file to examine each of the field. So that's why we needed to store the path of the db path. And then in the line number 13 is a start, line number 19 is a update. For all these methods, nothing changed from the default code. So we just skip all these two parts. And then starting from line number 45 to line number 150, okay, these are the most difficult parts. So the first method is create database and table. Uh, let's go back. Oh, okay, sometimes the database is totally empty. It doesn't even has any one of the table. So if this is the case, we have to create the first table for our database. So that is the purpose of line number 45. Here we just hide all the code. That is because ChatGPT can generate the code flawlessly, almost flawlessly. Okay, so later let's try to use ChatGPT to solve the to solve the method over here. The second API is the generator filter query. So it just uh, turns on search filter and command and into a string. So this line number 62 will be utilized by the code. I personally will not use this because I didn't draw this interface in my regulating interface. Okay, now for the line number 71, it declare a create row. So this means CRUD correspondingly. So in the creation, it just take a dictionary as a filter, and then you just write the values to the database. So this is nice, very clear. And then the second one is read rows. And you just read all the filters from filters, and then it may implement some sorting and the slicing algorithm to take only the part it wants. So and then update. Mhm. So for the update row, it provides also a filter to screen in for the first match, and then from that match, we replace all the dependencies here. We write all the key and value pair of the new values into the selected results. And for the final one, we implement a delete row, which simply just put all of the things uh, in an sorry, we have to query too. Query all the things and call delete on them. So this will delete all the object in the filter over here. Okay, this test code is pretty similar to the last test code. Actually, all of these test codes will be utilized. I mean, reutilized. That's the power of making an adapter interface for all these three databases. So let's take a look at the into the codes of client number 2. So in the beginning, the client number 2 just declared the database name and table name and a file name. The DB path is the file name pointing to this DB database. And then we're using combine to combine the application stream asset path with the DB path. Sorry, 看不太清楚。嗯 Oh, I just returned a new line. So the last character of this line is a comma. Okay, so I just open a DB file. And after I open the DB file, I just create the database and add to the table. So this is the one you see before. And after that, we have our again loop over here. If the player press 1, then create row. So we create a new data into the database. So if the player press 2, then it just read some rows and print the content onto the screen. And whenever the player presses 3, this is this is the data update. The first row is updating the database with well with which is whose name is equal to name and the name value is equal to Alice. So according to our experience for the line number 33, only the name of Alice will be changed. And for the line number 35, it just override the age with 30. Since it doesn't provide any filter, this operation is valid for all the objects in the level. For button number 4, we just delete a row and create a dictionary and make the name to name and Alice. So this will create, this will delete the row. Okay, next one. The create and the base, create database and the table. You just create an empty database and also create the table for it. This is important because uh, 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 whenever the previous code doesn't contain and doesn't find any usable DB, then just fall apart into this line, fall apart into the line number 45, and then we're going to add these stuffs by ourselves. So this is the purpose of create database and table. And then the generate filter query. This is turning a key value pair into a proprietary class called the container. Sorry, the containers. And this is not provided. The class of container is not provided by Unity. So we have to carefully taken these conditions over here. And the last one is the create row. For the create row, we just want to create one row at a time into the table. Okay, and besides that, for the CRUD, we still have several things to introduce. This is the reline. This follows the CRUD. And this is the update. This also follows the follow the rules. Okay. The last one is the zero. I think this is pretty simple. It works the same like the previous method. Okay, we don't have to modify most of the test clients. We just want to initiate the database as a new data structure. I didn't implement the test client before. All right, never mind. So this is the SQLite. I think if you have time, you can follow all the lines of codes over here, and you can definitely finish the SQLite exercise. And for the final one, for the final one is taking Excel spreadsheet as a database, but I still not find enable time to finish the exercise. So I'm going to introduce the goal and direction of this Excel database, and you can when you're returning to home, you can follow the rest of the PowerPoint slide and finish the Excel database. In order to operate and edit the Excel database, we need some plugin. So this plugin is provided as EPP+, EP Plus, okay, EP Plus. So we can download the EP Plus in NuGet. So where is NuGet? Let me show you. Do I have an English user interface? English. Uh, no. I'm not able to switch my user interface language. All right, never mind, because it's not so hard to find. I need a new get. Select the extension module. Extension module. Whether we have an extension module. And click the manage extension module. So we can search on the NuGet platform to search for the EP plus. EP plus. Where is it? Uh, where is my EP plus? What? Where's EP plus? EP plus NuGet. Where's this is not the NuGet package. Where's NuGet? NuGet. I'm sorry, it's not extension. It's in the tools and NuGet package. The one we browse is not NuGet package. NuGet package is the external solution. So let's delete the NuGet package settings. The tools, NuGet. Not this one. Sorry. The NuGet. Manage the project NuGet tools. Okay, so I open a new window, and this window can browse my installed NuGet packages. So by search EP plus, okay, we find something. This is EP plus. So select the EP plus. We want to import the EP plus into our projects. So all we need is the EP plus 4.5.3.3 version, which is not the newest version. All right, so the same thing again, we didn't choose the newest version because sometimes the newest version is always buggy. So just choose a secured and managed and stable version. So this version is stable. So I just recommend the 4.5.3.3. And let's install this DLL into your assembly C sharp. Okay, and assembly C sharp and install. No, 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 no. Okay, besides the EP plus, we need something more. We need a link dynamic. So just install the system link dynamic core. Okay, this is the one we need. System link dynamic. Just install the package to assembly C sharp. But about the version, okay, the version of the system link is 1.5. What's 1. System link core? Where is core? I didn't see the core. Okay, this is the core. What's CORE? All right, so maybe we should see we should seek for system link core. All right, so this is it. Install. Okay, since we download two packages, we can copy the DLL to our projects. Where is my project database? Unity. Ah, okay, in the Unity project, there is a folder called packages. So dive into the packages, you'll be able to see the downloaded new get package. So in each of them, you will see different target platform. For the EP Plus, we have several available platforms, including .NET 3.5, .NET 4.0, and .NET Standard 2.0 and .NET Standard 2.1. For the most advanced platform, it is net 440. So we are going to copy. We're going to copy the NAT 40 version of EP Plus and the NAT 46 version of System Link Dynamics Core into your other folder. So let's create a folder called Excel. Oh, not a file. It should be a folder. And then we're going to copy the corresponding DLL from the package folder. Okay, somebody may wondering what is a PDB. A PDB is for debugging. Terminally, you don't need that. So you just need a DLL file. Okay, I just copy the file and then I can start to write the code. The code will be look like this. Most of the part it is looking the same to the one we had just created. But in the detail, the detail implementation is different. So you can see the create role, reroll, update role, and delete role. The signature is the same, but the inner content is not the same. And for the get content index, we can implement our own, just like you can see that. Okay, so actually you can negotiate with ChatGPT to finish the learning, or you can by copying the code by typing all the code you see on this PowerPoint slide to finish the exercise. Okay, I think the time is up, so we are going to end here, and this is everything I want to deliver in the semester. So, do you have any question that I could be a help? Nope. I hope this difficulty could not be a, a, suffer for everybody. Okay, I know that this is not so easy, but as the LLM migrates and advances into the future, I think someday the interactive designer will have to replace the software engineer. I mean, in the interactive field, but that is the long, long future. Maybe 20 to 30 years from now on. But we have to know that for designer, if you can use ChatGPT anytime, the minimum knowledge you'd have to know is not the signature of API, nor how to use the API. API will be totally controlled by ChatGPT, just like you experience when you're chatting with ChatGPT. Eventually, it will know every detail about the API. So, what is our learning goal on the progress of developing an interactive design? I think that is the architecture of the software. So that's why we put so many emphasis on class diagram, on UML, on interfaces and design pattern, and how to organize your inventory, how to organize your AVG machine, and design a finite state machine by drawing a finite machine diagram. I think that is what you have to do, what you have to learn in the university, and maybe when you all graduate from university, LLM advance again. And at that time, you can negotiate with your favorite LLM by the UML and all the things we learned from these courses. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for your attendance. So next week we're going to have a presentation, right? So please do prepare with your teammates and do the best job you like. Okay. All right. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.